Hello, and welcome to the Women in Manufacturing Association's Hear Her Story podcast. My name is Allison Roberts Graylis, President and founder of the Women in Manufacturing Association and Education Foundation. I'm excited to welcome today's guest, Kate Leiby, Director of Global Sustainability at Donaldson Company and Chair of the Women in Manufacturing Education Foundation. With more than 2 decades of experience across global manufacturing, Kate brings a powerful perspective on what it takes to build strong, future-ready organizations. Today, we'll hear more about Kate's leadership and her journey in manufacturing. Please join me in welcoming Kate Leiby to the podcast. Welcome, Kate.
Thank you.
I am so excited to have this conversation with you on Hear Her Story. I've known you for a while, but know that there's lots I don't know about you and your journey in manufacturing. So we'd love to first start around kind of how you got to your current seat in manufacturing and your role and responsibility.
Perfect. Well, thanks for having me. I feel like my journey is a bit unique as I didn't go to a 4-year college right after high school. So I moved out when I was 17, and that had me growing up really fast. So I was working on a local turkey farm, and I knew that wasn't what I wanted long term. So I took one of those tests where they do the aptitude tests, and I tested really high on quality. So I did a 2-year technical degree for quality assurance, and I was actually referred to Donaldson by a friend who was a welder at our Baldwin plant. So I started my career as a second shift quality inspector for Donaldson back in March of 2000. So that's what's led me to manufacturing. It's been an endless loop of projects and teams and different roles since then, and it's really been a larger family. So it's the people have been great, the opportunities endless. I love learning and I'm a naturally curious person. So I quickly learned other roles to fill in when people were out on vacation, things like shipping, receiving, shop floor supervision. But I spent 7 years in Baldwin before moving to our headquarters in Bloomington. I met my husband in Baldwin. We quickly realized that our entire income was in one company, in one location. And that was a little too much risk for us. So there's been a blend of this personal influence and work influence, but that led me to a role in procurement at our global headquarters. And that was fantastic. It allowed me to use my voice about real life at a plant in kind of corporate America. So I enjoyed being that plant person at corporate, using my voice for those usually not heard, helping explain why systems or mandates often failed to deliver the results corporate was striving for and why. Having that headquarter team, they simply didn't realize what life was really like out at the plant. But throughout my career, I've had many sponsors and mentors along the way that helped shape and guide my career. Our procurement leader really encouraged me to step away from our headquarters and go back out and learn more areas of the company. At that time, they wanted very diverse backgrounds. And so they were looking for people that, had heavy metal manufacturing, which was our Baldwin plant. I had corporate experience, and we had distributions and air filter plants. And so that was the plan. So I left, I moved my family to Indiana to learn distribution. At that time, I was enrolled at UW Stout, earning my bachelor's degree. My daughter was just born. I don't recommend that much change in 1 year all at one time, but it definitely built resiliency in me and kind of shaped my career. But I held many roles. I think working at the plants out of necessity, many times you get to wear multiple hats to just get things done. And that has really shaped my career. So I did end up getting my bachelor's degree while working part time and used that. So that was back in 2013. So 6 years later, after the distribution, I moved back to Bloomington to our headquarters. And that really, again, was a personal decision to relocate back to extended family, find a place to raise the children without having to uproot and allow me to continue to have multiple jobs every few years. So these last 13 years, I've continued to take on new roles in Bloomington that have spanned, enterprise-wide quality, business unit leadership, now sustainability. And I guess what I've learned along the way is regardless of what title I have, what location, I build relationships, I create trust, and I solve problems. And that is very much needed in manufacturing. The need for those things is enormous. And so that's what has led me here and kept me here is that balance of what strengths do I have to solve what Donaldson needs? And what opportunities does Donaldson have to give me an opportunity to build a skill that I didn't have for my personal toolbox? So balancing those things. Sometimes it was, hey, I've done that. I don't want to do it again, but I'll do it because we need it as a company. But then the payback has been, hey, here's this job that you know nothing about. Let's go put that into your toolbox and get that experience. And so it's been that trade off for these last 26 years.
That is a huge amount of kind of time with a company, and how impressive that you've been able to find that mutual benefit, as you said, of being able to grow with Donaldson as an organization, to learn new skills, to hone and to kind of learn new roles, and as well to have that flexibility to kind of try different roles and positions to be able to relocate back with family and back in a space and place when you wanted to raise kids. That shows a lot about the company's commitment to employees and kind of growing from within and investing in talent and people, and as well, kind of your commitment to the company. And so I think we often
Yes.
say, companies that invest in their people and are able to offer flexibility wherever possible, highly valued when an employee is looking like, do I leave or do I stay? Obviously, that kind of match has worked well for you and Donaldson over this last decade plus.
Yes.
So, and interestingly too, as you shared, you did not go to a four-year school at the start, and to be able to kind of have that company invest in you and being able to go back to school to complete your degree and to now lead global sustainability for the organization is huge. I mean, that's a huge trajectory over 26 years to go from something that was but a referral from someone of a company that could be a good place to work in quality to now leading global sustainability. That's a huge rise in your career and your role and responsibility and position. So as you
Yes.
think about sustainability, we talk about it a lot around kind of, manufacturing for years got a bad rap around pollution and not being always conscious about the impact it had on communities and the environment. And we know it's a core focus for most organizations is kind of how are we leaving the planet a better place and how are we not negatively impacting it by our processes and what we're producing. So as you lead global sustainability for Donaldson, how do you see the connection between sustainability goals and workforce development in manufacturing?
Yes. I think sustainability goals in workplace development are deeply interconnected. Success in one increasingly depends on progress in the other. So, from my perspective, leading global sustainability, there's three major ways this connection shows up. For me, sustainability transformation, so things like decarbonization, circularity, energy efficient, require fundamentally different capabilities on the shop floor and engineering roles. Right? Today, workers need to understand energy systems, electrification, emissions tracking, resource optimization. There's smart manufacturing, right? It's just essential to optimizing energy and material use. So, blending that digital literacy and sustainability awareness. Engineers and operators are increasingly expected to consider environmental impacts when they're thinking of sourcing, production, end of life. So, in short, the sustainability is reshaping job profiles, creating demand for these green skills across traditional manufacturing roles, not just specialized in sustainability. I also think the only way we're going to achieve these very large sustainability goals is not from the top down. So they require active participation from the workplace. So our frontline workers often identify those efficiency opportunities, waste reduction, or energy savings that leadership simply can't see. Many sustainability wins, reducing scrap, conserving energy, improving maintenance practices depend on daily decision made by employees on the shop floor. Embedding sustainability into lean manufacturing, operational excellence programs is part of how it gets done. So I also think it comes into talent attraction, and retention. So sustainability is now a key factor in workplace competitiveness. Many employees, especially the younger generations, want to work for companies committed to environmental and social responsibility. They want to be engaged in these meaningful sustainability efforts to show higher morale or loyalty. Strong sustainability commitments help attract talent in engineering, operations, technical fields. And so to me, it's really the connection is strategic, but it's bidirectional. So sustainability drives new workplace requirements, but workforce capability engagement really are going to determine whether sustainability goals succeed. So I think they're very connected.
Very interconnected. And as you mentioned, I think the present workforce, those seeking an opportunity and first career, as well as people even shifting careers, they hugely care about and are passionate around kind of how does this company give back? What are those
Yes.
corporate responsibility initiatives? How is this corporation caring about the communities where they have plants and facilities? How are they leaving, again, the world a better place? And so I think it's a very different sentiment than I know when I started in manufacturing and working with companies in this space 25 years ago, and you 26 years ago. We're aging ourselves. Uh,
Yes.
it's a much different place than it was. And I think it's
Much.
amazing. It's great to see that this is a core pillar of focus for most companies, that they care about, again, the impact that they're having. And I think this is a huge attractor when we look for how do we make manufacturing an industry that people want to go into and that they take note of, and they look at it as a great place to work.
Yes, I agree.
So
Something
as
that's easy
you're
to get excited about.
it is easy to get
Yes.
excited about.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think looking and touring manufacturing facilities present day versus 20 years ago, it looks so very different. And to see all of the amazing programs that are in place to recycle, to reuse, to be really super creative. And how are we reusing water that we're collecting for this process? How are they using solar? How are we using all of these different things to kind of be smarter about how manufacturing happens?
And to
And
show that impact, right?
yes.
That's the difference too, is we had some of these programs, but we didn't have ways or structure to show that this person on the shop floor that did this wonderful project, here was the larger impact to that company, that plant, to the planet.
Hmm.
That's what's exciting now is we can start showing through the sustainability teams that impact of those
Yeah.
day-to-day decisions of the employees.
It's huge. I was just at a facility recently and they were sharing how, because of their solar panel installation, which was a very large investment that they had made, the number of kilowatts saved and how they were powering their own operations, and, as well as sharing that wealth with other neighboring facilities. And it's like, wow, to think of the energy saved, the cost saved, the, again, impact to the environment is huge.
It is.
So, as chair of the Women in Manufacturing Education Foundation, the organization celebrates 10 years here in 2026 of existence, which just excites me to think it's been a decade that the foundation has been focused on, making training and education accessible and affordable for all, and to reach people in all seats in manufacturing. What excites you about your role as chair this year and the work of the foundation? And how are you thinking about expanding access to careers in manufacturing, especially for those women entering or advancing in the field?
Yes. So I'm really excited about this because I'm passionate. I had to go out and work really hard to find and educate myself. And the work that the foundation does, I wish I would have known this, 20 years ago. So I'm excited to bring it. To me, it's a combination of early exposure, targeted support, and systemic change. Because the barriers women face in manufacturing aren't just about awareness, they're about pathways, confidence, and advancement. So for me, the key areas of focus are really early, broad exposure to manufacturing careers, right? Many women never consider manufacturing simply because they aren't exposed to it early enough or they have outdated perceptions of what the industry looks like. So for me, a goal is to move from manufacturing as a fallback to manufacturing as a first career choice. And then I think another one is the pathways and the skill building. So when interest exists, access can be limited by cost or awareness or a lack of entry points. So, understanding things like alternate pathways, partnerships, scholarships, meeting women where they are, whether that's early career, mid career pivot, re entry, is critical to scaling that participation. And then I think it's about not just Attraction, not just entry, but retention and advancement. So access isn't just about getting women into manufacturing, it's about helping them stay and grow. And that's what the foundation does a wonderful job of is leadership development programs, mentorship, connecting women with leaders who can help advocate for their advancement, career pathway visibilities with things such as these hear her story, making that progression transparent so women can see how they can move from entry level roles to technical or leadership positions. Because this is often where I think we see the biggest drop off, right? Is intentional investment here has kind of outsized its impact. But again, for me, it's kind of a full talent life cycle approach. We have to inspire and enable and support to then advance and retain. It's not a simple program. It's similar to sustainability. It's an ecosystem. And when done well, it doesn't just benefit women, it strengthens the entire manufacturing workforce by making it a place more diverse, resilient, and future ready.
100%. I love some of those statements. Moving from manufacturing being from a fallback option to first choice, and
Yes,
looking kind of at all aspects of manufacturing careers, both the attraction, that retention, and advancement piece. And I do think our foundation produces some really fabulous resources as it relates to those effective ways that companies can successfully invest in their talent and help them advance. One of the programs that most excites me is our Women in Production program, which just celebrated more than 1,000 graduates from its cohorts. And I just think about that effect and that impact it's going to have on that person's career to ideally positively impact them staying in this industry, to having opportunities for advancement, to having more career confidence. All those things we hope continue well beyond, the foundations this next 10 years as well. So just exciting about the resources that we've been able to develop.
I agree.
So you often, as a leader, I hear challenge teams to ask, what's the goal? What's the impact? What's next? So how has that mindset influenced the way that you lead and make decisions?
For me, that's really been a game changer because you need to listen, learn, and adjust all the time. The only way you'll drive change is by focusing on the actions that actually drive results. So if you can't see the link between what you're doing and spending time on and what results you must deliver, quite frankly, it's a waste of your time. And time is so precious. So setting clear ambitions, evaluating work to understand what's strategic, what's core and enabling, what's non essential, and what's simply required is really important. So for me, I learned this the most when I finally had a role that I couldn't succeed on my own anymore. I had finally had a role large enough in the company that the only way that I could achieve the goals that I had was success through others. That's when this really clicked for me because I could do it for myself. I had to work on this to drive this result, but when you have to set that up for others, that's really what started me to ask these questions. And it's all about aligning where we're focusing on, right? So, what's required? Like, we have to do it, it's non negotiable. It's compliance, regulatory. What's then core and enabling that efficiency we've been talking about, ease to support others, the foundation of the strategic work. And then there's strategic work, right, that supports those business outcomes. But then there's this large bucket that unfortunately most people spend most of their time on is that non essential, all the work that doesn't fall into one of those other three. And when you start asking those questions, you can see that aha moment for people of, oh, well, nothing really will happen if I don't work on this. Another analogy that I use with people all the time is the glass ball and the rubber ball, right? And so thinking of your work that way, like if I don't do this task, what is going to happen? Will the ball drop and shatter and something doesn't get shipped or somebody else isn't able to complete their task? Or does it bounce or there's no responsibility? So having that lens to really prioritize where you're focusing your time has been a game changer for driving results and success for my career.
Great guidance. I like that glass ball versus rubber ball. And I think so often we spend so many of our hours in a working day in things that are not essential or they're not a priority. And so it's that where
Yes.
we spend our time to have the biggest or the most important results is so important because I think given the digitalization of our work and inboxes that never get empty.
Never end. Never.
It's tough to like figure out, okay, what are, and I'm a big list maker, so my tool is always just that kind of calibrating each evening on what did I accomplish, what are the things that were hangovers from today that need to get accomplished for tomorrow, and then prioritization each day. Like, what are the top three things I
Yes,
need to get done today that are must have?
that
And
must have.
yeah, because guess
I
what?
am
There's
the
endless
same.
disruptions. They're gonna hijack your day and your time, and so it's kind of staying the course and knowing, okay, these are the things that are my priorities.
And letting go of the rest. I am a list maker also, but then
Yeah.
to challenge yourself to like, do you just want to do that because you
Yeah,
enjoy that one, or do you have to? And like letting go, it's not failure if you don't do this one. It will
yeah,
sit there and you can pick it back up. That's been the hardest. Yeah.
100%. So looking ahead, what do you see as the most important opportunity or challenge for developing the next generation of manufacturing leaders?
Well, I think manufacturing is no longer optimizing in this stable environment. It's being fundamentally reshaped by all of these requirements and the way the world is, right? So, this next generation of leaders need to operate across multiple dimensions that were previously separate. We didn't have to do it. Traditionally, manufacturing leadership was rooted in operational excellence, cost, quality, safety, delivery. Today's leaders also must navigate what we talked about: sustainability, decarbonization, circularity goals, rapid digital transformation, workplace shifts and talent shortages, global supply chain volatility. The opportunity is to develop, I think, multi-lens leaders. So people who can connect these threads rather than treat them as competing priorities. And then I think they also need to bridge this technical depth with the systems thinking. So in the past, leadership could think enterprise wide and people could be technical and kind of in their silos. And now I think we need still technical credibility from our engineers, our operators, but we need enterprise level systems thinking, how decisions affect emissions, supply chain, customers. And I think that combination is still relatively rare, honestly. But if you think of an example, right, a decision to automate a line isn't just about productivity anymore. It affects workplace skills, energy use, capital allocation. If you're simply changing a material to reduce emissions, you could introduce supply chain risk or cost variability. So leaders must be thinking about trade offs and interdependencies more than they ever have. So I think our most important opportunity is shifting from operational leaders to transformation leaders, so, really being able to integrate technology, sustainability, make complex trade offs, and lead with both technical but yet human centered leadership. So, it's a big problem, but that's where there's a lot of education, a lot of opportunities for people to learn and broaden their scope.
I love that challenge around that shift from operational leadership excellence to transformational leadership excellence. And what I've heard often is how manufacturing was done these years prior. That's kind of not the way things are going to happen present day and into the future. And so it's a new skill set that we as leaders
Yes.
all need to learn and then challenge ourselves to be those constant learners that we may have become expert in kind of again manufacturing of the past and present, but that manufacturing of the future looks a lot different. And so it's
Yeah.
becoming expert at the new technologies, the new tools that we'll have to optimize efficiency, to optimize how we tap into a human-centric talent pool in a different way. And so I think it's exciting, but also challenging. And people have to be up for change. And this transformation is happening whether we like it or not. So we got to
Correct.
part.
Correct. It what worked before is not going to work in the
Yeah.
future, and we have to figure out how to do this and listen. I think that's the other, to me it's exciting because I think it really is when we figure this out and use this together as one team and listen to, our shop floor, our plant employees for those ideas and how impactful they can be across the company from the bottom down, really operationalize these programs. It'll be so much success and so much development and opportunity for people in manufacturing to
Yeah.
learn and expand versus where they were in the previous
Yeah.
generations. Yeah.
I liked your sentiment around listen, learn, and adjust all the time. And I think
All the
that's we all need to we need to embrace that I always love that adage of that we have two ears, two eyes, and one mouth, and
Mhm.
that was done by design. So that
Yes,
we're listening, we're seeing, we're observing, and we're talking less, and knowing that we don't know it all, and that learning piece is really critical. So
agreed.
we always like to close out our conversations on Hear Her Story with one sage piece of advice from our featured guest. So I wondered if you would might share what is one piece of advice that you've been given that has really resonated with you with throughout the course of your career, and or a piece of advice that just is something that you've stumbled upon throughout your career that you'd like to share with our listeners.
So, the piece of advice I'd like to share is don't wait till you feel 100% ready. Step into opportunities before you're fully certain. So, in manufacturing, it's common for you to feel the need to prove mastery before raising your hand. But growth in this industry often comes from taking on the stretch role, learning on the job, building confidence through experience, not waiting for it. So I would say apply for that role that feels just out of reach. Speak up with your ideas, even if they're not fully formed. Take on projects that expand your visibility and impact. So at the same time, though, you need to pair that courage with a strong support system. So have mentors and sponsors and peers that can offer guidance and advocacy along the way. But the reality is, many careers accelerate not because someone was perfectly prepared, but because they were willing to take the step forward anyway. So for me, it's confidence often follows action, not the other way around.
I love
So
that.
don't wait. Apply for the job. Take the role that you don't know how you're going to be able to do. You'll figure it out.
That is perfect guidance. And I think great advice for our listeners. Be willing to take that risk and to put yourself out there and to apply for that position, even if you feel like you don't have all those skill sets yet. That
Absolutely.
we know we all are adaptable and we learn quick, and for people to not be scared to go for it.
Because you won't get them without the experience. So that's a little bit of the, hey, I want to be a CEO. Well, you can't be a CEO without experience being a CEO. Well, somebody had to do it for the first
Right.
time, right? Think of that in any of these roles. So, yep, take the job and get the experience. You'll learn.
Love
You'll
it.
learn.
Well, Kate, it has been so much fun to have this conversation with you today. I so appreciate you sharing your story and journey in manufacturing. And I know I learned lots about you, and I'm inspired by all the great things you're doing for women in manufacturing in this industry. And I wish you nothing but continued success in your career.
Thank you, Allison. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to Hear Her Story, a podcast produced by the Women in Manufacturing Association. Be sure to share, review, and subscribe to Hear Her Story on Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you like to listen.